Welcome to our deep dive into the world of motivational podcasts.
Perfect for leveling up your learning.
And lucky for us,
We have this awesome article to guide us.
it's called The 20 Best Motivational Podcasts to Level Up Your Learning,
Published by BetterUp on August 23rd, 2023.
and written by Elia Cooks Campbell.
Who has an impressive background in content creation.
You mentioned Scary Mommy and HuffPost,
Yep, she's written for them.
and even has a background in psychology.
And she's a certified yoga instructor.
Wow, so we're definitely in good hands with this article.
Seems like it.
So let's jump right in.
Sounds good to me.
The article starts by talking about something a lot of us can relate to, feeling stuck.
Oh yeah, that feeling.
Like we're in a rut.
Whether it's burnout over work,
It can really zap your motivation.
makes it tough to learn and grow.
And the article points out,
That self-help podcasts are actually a huge chunk of podcasts globally.
with a lot of them focusing on burnout and stress.
Which makes sense given how common those issues are these days.
Absolutely. So let's dive into some of the podcasts the article recommends.
Okay, which one first?
How about Tiny Leaps, Big Changes?
The title itself is motivational,
Right, it's about making those big goals seem less daunting.
and it's hosted by Greg Clunas.
You mentioned he's all about breaking things down into smaller steps.
Exactly. He encourages listeners to identify the tiniest action they can take towards their goal.
So tiny that it feels almost effortless.
Like spending just 5 minutes brainstorming.
Or making one phone call.
The idea is that these tiny, consistent steps build momentum and help avoid feeling overwhelmed.
It's like that saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Exactly. It's all about those small wins adding up over time.
Okay, let's move on to another podcast, 10% Happier.
This one's hosted by Dan Harris,
And it caught my eye because it presents happiness as a learnable skill.
which is a really interesting concept.
It is. And Dan Harris brings in a really diverse group of guests.
Like spiritual leaders, mental health professionals,
Even celebrities.
all sharing their perspectives on things like anxiety, procrastination.
And just general life advice.
It's like a melting pot of wisdom on how to live a happier, more fulfilling life.
Okay, now for a podcast with a slightly more unconventional title.
You mean How to Fail?
Yeah, seems counterintuitive for a motivational podcast, right?
You would think so, but the host, Elizabeth Day, actually focuses on how valuable failures can be.
So it's about embracing those setbacks.
Exactly. She has some really insightful guests on the show, and they all share stories about how their failures ultimately led to growth and learning.
It's about reframing failure as a natural part of the journey.
And using it as fuel to propel you forward.
I love that perspective.
Okay.
And for listeners who are drawn to a more holistic approach to well-being,
The article suggests the Good Life Project.
this one emphasizes things like connection, belonging, and finding your passion,
They have a rotating cast of guest hosts, too.
like Elizabeth Gilbert
The author of Eat, Pray, Love.
and Dr. Stan Tatkin, a relationship expert,
It's amazing how they bring together so many different voices.
all offering unique perspectives on things like healing and living a fulfilling life.
It's like a tapestry of wisdom woven from different experiences and backgrounds.
And lastly, for all the entrepreneurial minds out there,
We have How I Built This with Guy Raz,
he interviews successful entrepreneurs not just about their triumphs.
but also about the challenges they faced along the way.
The article highlighted episodes featuring Tory Burch and a YouTuber who made it big with domino tricks.
Talk about a range.
Yeah, it shows how diverse the entrepreneurial journey can be.
And what's really cool is that Guy Raz delves into the nitty-gritty of their motivations, the setbacks they overcame, and the key decisions that led to their breakthroughs.
It's like getting a behind-the-scenes look at how these incredible businesses were built.
Definitely inspiring for anyone with an entrepreneurial spirit.
So we've explored 5 podcasts so far, each with its own unique angle on motivation and learning.
What's interesting to me is how they all touch on the importance of mindset.
Whether it's reframing failure, building confidence through small wins, or finding your purpose.
Having the right mindset can be a huge motivator for learning and growth.
Absolutely. It's like the foundation upon which everything else is built.
And a good reminder that we have more control over our thoughts and beliefs than we sometimes realize.
It's a great point, and maybe a good place to pause for now.
We've covered a lot of ground already.
But we've only just scratched the surface of what this article has to offer.
There are so many more motivational podcasts to discover.
So stay tuned as we continue our deep dive in the next part.
Can't wait.
Okay, so we've explored 5 podcasts in depth.
Each with their own unique approach to motivation and learning.
And as promised, we'll give you a taste of what else is out there.
A little buffet of motivational podcasts.
Love that analogy. A buffet of inspiration.
So let's start with Happier with Gretchen Rubin.
I've actually read her book, The Happiness Project.
Oh yeah, it's a great read.
It really is, and her podcast seems to follow a similar vein.
Definitely exploring those practical ways to find happiness in everyday life.
Packed with tips and strategies that listeners can apply right away.
It's about taking action, not just thinking about happiness.
Love that. Okay, next up we have Redefining Wealth with Patrice Washington.
This one really challenges how we traditionally view wealth.
It's not just about money, right?
Exactly. It focuses on overall well-being.
Financial, emotional, spiritual.
The whole package.
She had some great guests, too.
Like performance coach Amberly Lago and self-healing advocate Londrell.
It's all about creating a truly rich life in every sense of the word.
Expanding our definition of what it means to be wealthy.
Okay, now for a podcast that's all about mindset shifts.
The Tony Robbins podcast.
Tony Robbins is like the king of unlocking your potential
He's known for his high energy approach.
and achieving massive results,
His podcast is a mix of interviews and his own talks.
covering topics like personal growth, relationships, business success.
It's like a masterclass in personal development.
And then we have Straight Up with Trent Shelton.
Oh, this one has a really authentic vibe.
I was drawn to that too. It seems very personal.
Trent Shelton is a former NFL wide receiver.
So he's got that background of discipline and hard work.
Definitely. And he delivers straight talk on self-worth, new beginnings, building trust.
His messages are really inspirational.
And he has this amazing ability to connect with listeners on a heart-to-heart level.
Okay, moving on to The Tim Ferriss Show.
This one's a classic.
For anyone interested in entrepreneurship, productivity, personal development,
Tim Ferriss is like the ultimate experimenter.
always trying new things and sharing what he learns.
He interviews a wide range of guests,
From authors and athletes to scientists and investors.
all sharing their unique perspectives on success.
It's like getting a glimpse into the minds of some of the most fascinating people in the world.
And then there's the School of Greatness with Lewis Howes.
Another podcast focused on personal development.
This one tackles things like overcoming limiting beliefs, building healthy relationships, achieving big goals,
Lewis Howes interviews successful individuals from various backgrounds.
sharing their stories and strategies for living a more fulfilling life.
It's all about maximizing your potential.
And if you're looking for bite-sized motivation,
There's Daily Dose of Dopamine,
a mental health podcast with short, impactful episodes.
perfect for when you need a quick boost of inspiration.
It's like a shot of positivity for your day.
I like that. And Optimal Living Daily also caught my eye.
Oh yeah, it's like having the best personal development blog posts curated and read to you.
They cover a wide range of topics.
From health and fitness to productivity and mindfulness.
It's a great way to get exposed to different ideas and perspectives.
And then there's the Happiness Lab, hosted by Yale professor Dr. Laurie Santos.
Exploring the science of happiness.
Challenging misconceptions, offering evidence-based tips for well-being.
It's about understanding the psychology behind happiness.
Yeah, and putting that knowledge into practice.
For women entrepreneurs, there's Too Smart for This with Alexis Barber.
It features interviews with successful women sharing their entrepreneurial journeys.
The lessons they've learned, the challenges they've overcome.
It's all about empowerment, inspiration, and building a supportive community.
And speaking of support, there's the Resilience Podcast.
Showcasing stories of individuals who've overcome incredible adversity
It's a reminder that we all have the strength within us to face challenges.
and emerge stronger on the other side.
It's about finding that inner resilience and drawing inspiration from others.
And then we have The One You Feed,
Another podcast focused on personal growth.
exploring topics like mindfulness, purpose, creating a meaningful life,
And each episode includes key takeaways.
making it easy for listeners to absorb and apply what they've learned.
I love that it's structured in a way that makes it easy to remember.
For those looking to build better habits, there's The Habit Coach,
Hosted by Ashton Doctor.
providing practical tips and strategies for improving everyday behaviors.
Things like sleep, stress management, relationships.
It's all about making those small changes that compound over time.
And Therapy for Black Girls with Dr. Joy Harden Bradford.
This one focuses on making mental health topics more accessible for Black women.
Discussing a wide range of issues from trauma and anxiety to relationships and self-care.
Creating a safe space for dialogue and support.
And lastly, we have How's Work, hosted by Esther Pearl.
Applying the principles of relationship therapy to the workplace.
Exploring communication, conflict resolution, building healthier work environments.
It's all about fostering more fulfilling and productive work experiences.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
A whole smorgasbord of motivational podcasts.
What's striking is how diverse this collection is.
Each podcast offering its own unique flavor.
But what's the common thread that connects them all?
What's the underlying message that resonates throughout? It's really interesting
What is?
how all these podcasts,
Yeah.
they have different topics, different styles, but they all seem to come back to this idea
Of what?
of taking ownership.
Yeah, like being in the driver's seat of your own growth.
Exactly, whether it's about happiness or resilience,
Building a business.
it's about actively seeking those tools and strategies to better yourself.
Like they're all saying, hey, you have the power to shape your own life.
Here's some guidance. Here's some inspiration.
To help you along the way. And what I find so powerful about podcasts
Yeah.
is that accessibility.
Oh, absolutely.
You can literally carry these voices of wisdom and motivation with you wherever you go.
It's like having that personal development library right there in your pocket.
And you can curate it based on your interests and goals.
Exactly. You're not limited to a set curriculum.
It's like a choose your own adventure in learning.
And you can learn at your own pace, which can be really empowering.
Especially for those who might feel intimidated by more formal education settings.
That's a great point.
It's about reclaiming that joy of learning,
Exploring new ideas.
expanding your horizons.
But on your own terms.
Exactly. So who knows, maybe this deep dive into the world of motivational podcasts will spark something new for you.
Maybe you'll be inspired to try a new approach to learning.
Connect with a new community.
Or even start your own podcast to share your insights with the world.
The possibilities are endless.
They really are.
The key is to take that first step,
To explore
to experiment.
and see where this journey takes you.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So as we wrap up our exploration,
Of this amazing world of motivational podcasts,
we encourage you to check out some of the podcasts we've discussed
see what resonates with you.
and let that learning spark your own growth.
Happy listening, everyone.